In the not-so-distant past, on a world where heroes are hunted and the greatest enemies are approaching, a league must join together to uphold justice for all. But will they be enough? Find out next in... Whoa, okay. Got that out of my system because this story was the epic dawn of the New 52. However, no promises if the movie voice won't come back. Welcome everybody to the DC New 52 review. I want to thank you for tuning into another episode. I am your host, Pauly DC, and let's get into another one of these things. Today, I will review Justice League Vol.1. It was titled Origin, and it was written by Geoff Johns with art by Jim Lee and Scott Williams, with the first 6 issues being released between August 2011 to January of 2012. Now, admittedly, I have been seriously loafing on getting this review out, considering that it started the entire event which I've dedicated this channel to. And all the members, even Cyborg down the line, did get their own solo series, so I will save character backgrounds for those since there is a lot to cover here. The opening roster are the heaviest hitters in the DC Heroes canon, consisting of Batman Bruce Wayne, Superman Kal-El or Clark Kent, Wonder Woman Diana Prince, Barry Allen's The Flash, Green Lantern Hal Jordan, Aquaman Arthur Curry, and newly promoted from the teen world, Cyborg aka Victor Stone. It's fairly well known that the Justice Society of America came first way back in the winter between 1940 and 1941 for the All-Star Comics number 3 by Sheldon Mayer and Gardner Fox. It was the first ever superhero team-up group. However, 20 years later, in The Brave and the Bold number 28, March 1960, the Justice League was conceived by Mr. Fox himself. As already mentioned, this title was the first one to drop as the huge crossover called Flashpoint ended, kicking off the New 52, and this story is 5 years in the past, and like the name of the book suggests, it's how our 7 heroes came together as a team, with, aside from Cyborg, all of them already operating. Issue number 1 starts in the year 2006 with Batman being chased through the Gotham streets by the GCPD in very over-the-top assault helicopters. Our caped crusader, meanwhile, chases down something called a parademon, which we're seeing a lot over the New 52. Once the monster is caught and attempted to be questioned by Batman, Green Lantern arrives, big and bright as ever, interrupting with disbelief that a guy in a bat suit fighting crime actually exists. The cops begin to shoot at both heroes now, distracting them long enough for the parademon to go full berserk mode and allowing Green Lantern to sort of mock Batman as he saves the cops. The two then follow the parademon, now looking like something out of War of the Worlds, into the sewers where Batman is told what the Green Lantern Corps is. I'm surprised he didn't already, but maybe he does and is just not letting us know it. And then he gets berated for not having any powers. Something you really don't want to do because Batman will gladly embarrass you, as seen next when he steals Hal's ring without him knowing and then questions his intelligence. Hints of the banter that will take place between these two for the rest of the event. After some homoerotic fanfiction is fulfilled, they find the parademon going kamikaze, yelling "Dark Side" on the way out. An unknown object was left behind, which I'm gonna tell you now is called a mother box, which will be learned much more of in the future. Guessing that the object is of alien origin since Hal's ring can't identify it, the two then believe that Superman may be involved since he is a known alien. Man, that's gotta be ET racism. Anyway, they zip to Metropolis, passing over Detroit, where a fully human Victor Stone is seen kicking ass in football and saying that his dad works on metahumans. Once on Superman's turf, Green Lantern tries to showboat, thinking that he can take him on all alone, which goes totally fantastically, and then, oh no, the first good look at Superman's new 52 suit, Seriously though, it's really not that bad. Issue number 2 opens on Barry Allen, the Flash, in Central City, the place he calls home, at his day job of forensic science with boss Director Singh, discussing cases on the Flash, which I'm sure details on disappear once in a while. Back to some battling, Superman says that he also encountered a parademon to Batman which blew up a building, but before more can be said, Green Lantern comes back for another fight, allowing us to see just how useless a Green Lantern ring is against Big Blue. So, because Hal and Barry seem to be buddies and, beat up talking gorillas, the Flash is called in for backup, allowing us to see that, although not by much, he is faster than Superman while they fight. Until he's hit for the first time ever via a flick. That is both hilarious and pretty humiliating. Batman is then finally able to be Batman, taking control of the situation and the group conversating briefly and then having to take off together because of incoming law enforcement. Jumping to Detroit, more specifically the Star Labs location there, where technicians and head scientist Silas Stone are looking into a mother box of their own right before his son Victor then pays him a visit, where it's made pretty clear that the two don't exactly see eye to eye, with Victor's football career being looked down on. Cutting back to the four heroes, Superman is telling Batman now that he's got no headquarters after taking them to an old printing press, which doesn't line up since he took over the Collector of Worlds' spaceship in Action Comics Vol.1 before even gaining his supersuit. Yeah, I don't know and I don't care. Green Lantern also is telling Flash that his ring can't identify the mother box, which is very rare, but it's all good. The answer comes out of nowhere when they transform and explode into gateway portals, aka boom tubes, for more parademons to flood through while yelling Darkseid. And poor Vic is in direct view of one to get caught right in its blast radius. Issue number 3 kicks off in Washington, D.C. with Steve Trevor, a character that goes way back to October 1941 in All-Star Comics number 8 by Wonder Woman creator William Moulton Marston and H.G. Peter. Speaking of Wonder Woman, she's seen next on the streets. I'm almost tempted to start singing Oh Pretty Woman, but I'll spare you. And as she enjoys some ice cream, Steve finds her saying he's her liaison, since she's rather new to man's world. Good timing, because a full-scale alien invasion is going down. Over in Detroit, Silas holds his now half-dead, glowing red son, while we see multiple long-time, well-known DC scientists, T.O. Morrow, Sarah Charles, and Anthony Ivo, who actually gets taken by a parademon. That said parademon army continues to invade all over the world, meeting resistance from the quartet of heroes doing everything they can, Superman mostly, and then realizing people are being taken by the creatures. They're met by their soon-to-be heroine teammate, slicing up a lot of the parademons and big-time impressing Superman. I'm not sure how close Washington, D.C. is to Metropolis, but how in the hell did she get there so fast? Whatever. Silas, T.O., and Sarah are next seen bringing the hardly alive Victor to the very secret tech spot called the Red Room, where some beyond mad doctor procedures go down, turning him into his cyborg form. And then he sees an ominous figure waiting on a fiery mountaintop. Yeah, it's Darkseid. No other villain can do the arms crossed behind the back look that well. The 5 other heroes now notice that the parademons are starting to swarm near the ocean as a huge beacon tower rises from the water, except so does an aggressive, bejeweled Aquaman, everyone's favorite Justice League member. Am I right? Issue number 4 first has Vic fully becoming Cyborg with some hints as to who created some of the tech that was spliced into him. Anthony Ivo and other DC science types like Will Magnus, who we will see later on down the line, and Ryan Choi, the third person to be called the Atom, who never made the New 52. Cyborg ends up saving Sarah, Tio, and his dad from attacking parademons, and then when he kinda realizes that he's become every action sci-fi robot reference I can make, takes off in a fit of rage toward Daddy Frankenstein. Hey, see what I did there? Because Cyborg's name is Victor, and in the book by Mary Shelley, Victor Frankenstein? Yeah, okay. Back to Metropolis, we're reminded that this comic came out in 2011 with a Conan O'Brien reference. Wonder Woman is the first to give friendly greetings to Aquaman, as if you two weren't brutally brawling to death in the crisis that birthed this event. And when asked about leadership among the group, Batman does Batman again. While Green Lantern continues to be a total douche, Aquaman shows how useful he can be, taking out an oncoming group of parademons right before the US military choppers start shooting at them. And when Steve Trevor is seen arguing with a superior over this decision, we see that one of the soldiers belongs to the Checkmate group. Cyborg is next seen pinging around with teleporting powers, and when fighting parademons, sort of connects to them, seeing what happens to the organic life they capture, and it ain't pleasant. The next spot Cyborg ends up is conveniently right at the location of his soon-to-be teammates while they fight off the helicopters, and quickly warns them that he is coming. Cue the foreboding drumroll, because leader of the parademons and lord of the planet Apocalypse has arrived in one hell of an entrance. New god, Darkseid. Created in December 1970, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen number 134 by the legendary Jack Kirby. Issue number 5 begins with the Flash being the first to recover from Darkseid hitting the scene and destroying anything he wants, military aircrafts included. Superman is the second one up, but along with Flash has to haul ass in order to escape a signature ability of Darkseid, the Omega beams that come from his eyes. Flash isn't just fast on his feet, but a fast thinker too, making the Omega Beam after him take out a bunch of parademons instead. Unfortunately, Superman suffers the same fate, but is tough enough to not be disintegrated and is instead kidnapped. Flash reports this to the rest of the team, and I like how Cyborg is saying, F this, I'm not with them at this point, because, yeah, just look at Darkseid. Hal, of course, tries to show off again, believing that he can 1v1 Darkseid, and after hardly a fight, it turns out Green Lantern does not got this. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg tried to keep up with Darkseid during the best bit of dialogue this far between Hal and Bruce Wayne, who shows his face as he mentions their similarities in the loss of parents, which ends up becoming standard for every Justice League member in the New 52. They all lack two parents, even Cyborg, which is stated earlier. Bruce then allows himself to be taken by a parademon so he can deliver a surprise headbutt when ready to check out a location of interest. I get that this was to make him look super noble and badass, which there's no doubt. He did just knock out an alien with his friggin' skull, but there was many less ideal scenarios that could have happened here opposed to your one hopeful outcome of pretty much being taken to the exact location you wanted. Anyhow, he enters a boom tube and gets a look at Apocalypse. And it's definitely not what he was hoping to see. Issue number 6 is the last one in this volume, and it starts on an important scene as character David Hargraves, who becomes more known in Justice League Vol.1, is watching people lose their lives on the street, but he and his family are saved from Darkseid after Batman inspired Hal, even with a broken arm, to rally the team and formulate a strategy to first blind their foe. They hold nothing back, fighting with everything they've got, and at one point, Darkseid says he's on Earth looking for her, which is something I'll get into during the Batman and Superman Vol.1 review. As the fight goes on, Wonder Woman is able to stab Darkseid in the right eye while Aquaman handles the left, except much to their shock, he's still standing, so Cyborg suggests they send his ass home. Batman is still sneaking around Apocalypse, where he sees two of Darkseid's top associates, Desaad and Steppenwolf, torturing Superman and discussing why their master is traveling among planets. Suddenly, they get interrupted by Cyborg's ability to now open and control boom tubes, which distracts the duo long enough for Batman to rush in and free the mentally traumatized Superman. Once able to gain his composure, he becomes an integral part of lining up Darkseid for his departure as he returns with Batman, and finally, when the six heroes have him set up, Cyborg expels an insane amount of power to send Darkseid back to Apocalypse, ending the invasion with a tremendous burst of light. With this victory, our main characters are now looked at as a bona fide superhero team, and days later are honored at the White House by the president, with them being asked for help again right then and there, with the Flash saying, "You can call us the Super 7. Wait, so how do they adopt their titular name? Well, in the last couple pages, David Hargraves is seen to be a best-selling author and plans to write a new book, The Justice League, Gods Among Men. A sort of short epilogue story was included here, and the first page has two shadowy figures, one with a skull button, which we'll be seeing lots more of, discussing the rise of superheroes, so it's time for the dawn of supervillains. Next, an extremely paramount player in the New 52 is seen, Pandora, who was briefly witnessed near the end of Flashpoint, and even though this scene is only 6 pages, a lot to remember is said when Pandora meets with longtime DC character Phantom Stranger, speaking about them both knowing the Spectre, how they were judged and then put in their positions by the Circle of Eternity. More on them to come when I review Shazam Volume 1. But anywho, the two also are looking for a third person who's out there to complete their Trinity of Sin, and when things become uneasy, Pandora ends up shooting the Phantom Stranger, but this guy can't exactly die, and then she says to leave her alone as she seeks the Justice League and warns him that she knows his true name and will reveal it. Both of these two ended up getting solo series, so don't worry, much more to come on both of them. Alright. For the plot, let's get the obvious out of the way first, since usually the individual characters get stories before the team up, and only 5 years of unseen setup time after this made many things complicated and hard to believe. Batman going through 4 Robins, all the major Green Lantern events that Geoff Johns produced. I just believe that fleshing out the whole universe of 52 titles in that little of time was a big pitfall. It was an opportunity to present the heroes in their prime, all being rather young, but within that statement, an opportunity wasn't taken to show anything that happened within the 5 years between this volume and the second in major context. Now, I don't want to give up too much time to all that since there will be many more titles to get into it all. So, looking at what we did get, with it being basically a pilot episode for the team and mainly consisting of one big fight, boss battle included, which also moved lightning quick, there was still beginning dynamics established, personalities for this new generation of heroes displayed, tons of things open to question and theory, all tied together with some intense action. If you were a fan of the DCU films during the mid-2010s, then you probably know that Zack Snyder sort of used this Justice League iteration, but if you ask me, watch the DCU animated films that began in 2014. The art from Jim Lee here doesn't need much analysis. It's always impeccable, accompanied by amazing inkers and colorists. It really is hard to find any faults. Great close-ups, wonderfully detailed spreads, and doing all these characters great justice. Yes, I went there. Lastly, for dialogue, considering these are the most well-known DC characters, the way they speak has been well worked out already, so it's up to the writers to put their unique spin and knowledge into them, which does get started here, even though again, this was just one huge fight scene from the story end of things. Wonder Woman is valiant and vicious, Flash is selfless and the most heroic if you ask me, Batman is as unwavering as usual, Superman did come off a tad cocky and dull, while Aquaman was given every chance to come off as very serious because, you know, fish guy jokes. Hal, of course, remains a hothead slash dickhead, but ends up having one of the best verbal interactions second to Vic and his dad's in the Bruce Wayne face reveal, which there was no way you didn't know who he was, or that Superman was Kryptonian and all his powers with the yellow sun, and that his home planet is gone. If the Guardians of the Universe know all, which they for sure know that means your ring does. But that is something for another day. So, if you have watched until the end here, I want to personally thank you for that, and to please like, share, and subscribe. Please follow me on all my social media platforms, and to please join me next time for The Flash Volume 1.